was just thinking about boobies. Alright.
Just thinking about boobies.
I was thinking on society. In 3, 2, 1.
We have that one mission to the top to do.
This one?
Yeah. That's the next Leonardo da Vinci mission.
Okay, alright, okay.
We have to help
get this
Soleil.
to move over.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Well, it wouldn't move.
Okay,
There we go. So I had a question for you while we're playing this.
Does this involve Canadian trivia?
It technically could.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm not going to answer the question.
Okay, got it. So this question was just kind of regarding the history and how the world works and how over the years there has been, I guess over the centuries, there have been a lot of ideologies that have sprung up that have changed the world.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're religious, like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, whatever. Sometimes they're political or economic, things like communism.
Yeah.
Karl Marx.
Mm-hmm.
My question for you, I guess, was why do you think this doesn't happen very much anymore? And I genuinely wanted to know your thoughts on it. I want to know, because I have a few thoughts on it myself, but the last time I saw something like this happen was Donald Trump. Like a cult of personality type, huge, larger-than-life character in terms of like having this massive following that just follows him because he's him.
Also massive, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see that very often is my point anymore. Like, I don't see many people, like, follow a guy just because they're that guy, or see very many people follow, you know, like, somebody invents, like, Karl Marx invents, you know, releases his papers, and all of a sudden, everything changes.
I have thoughts on it, actually.
Okay, I'm interested in what they are. Did you see the White House up there?
Yeah, cool.
Do not kill anyone.
Infiltrate Bellegardo Palazzo to find Lucrezia Borgia and discover the locations of stolen Villa paintings. Okay.
It's Villa.
Bella, sorry.
That's okay. This is the one time where the L is not silent.
Okay.
Is he going to talk to himself here?
Did you have an enjoyable ride, Duchessa?
Hardly. I raced across the grounds at breakneck speed for fear of a knife in my back.
I do not understand, Duchessa. Who is trying to kill you?
My father kept them at bay, kept me safe. Now they chase after me. They want my head.
But, Signora...
The countryside was supposed to be serene. Death follows me even here. Increase the patrols and warn me of any intruders. No one is allowed in the palazzo but my husband's private guard.
You heard the Duchessa! Sound the alarm if an intruder is spotted! Poor Alfonso. His wife has gone...
I actually always kind of felt bad for Lucrezia. Like, I know she's not a good person, but she was very clearly groomed into this family.
Yeah.
And...
Definitely.
Was basically a victim of incest.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I always felt bad for her, too. She definitely got the short end of the stick on... Well, I guess I don't know if Rodrigo's stick is short, but... Or Cesare, not Rodrigo.
We don't know about either of them.
Yeah, true. But yeah, anyways, to answer your question, there could be multiple reasons for this, so I understand this is not, like, the reason. This is just my thinking on it. And I guess I don't really have, like, a specific answer for this, so it's just going to be me kind of spitballing here. I've kind of noticed that in our world today, there's not really a lot of new developments for anything. Whether it's architecturally speaking, whether it's culturally speaking, artistically speaking, you know, thought, like people thinking of things, invention, stuff like that. It doesn't really seem like there's anything like that anymore. And I guess...
You're saying on the level of, like, inventing the wheel or inventing socialism.
Well, so here's the thing. So... You know,
because there is a lot of technology.
Well, there is. But I'm saying, when I've been studying history just in my life in general, one thing I've started to notice recently is, why don't we see anything in the world like we saw... Okay, one second here. Luna is having an attack over there.
You want to go to the bathroom? Come here. Are you trying to play with Kazi? Come here. Come here. Go on. You guys go out there. Love you.
Okay.
She was hitting him under the door.
Oh, okay.
They were hitting each other under the door.
Nice. So yeah, anyways, like I was saying, I think as I've been studying history, I've started to notice that in the past, like we're talking even like 100 years ago, so something like kind of recently, we used to see people like architects or inventors or things like that, like people were always trying to expand, they were always trying to think of the newest and coolest thing, but in today's world we don't see that. Like just as an example, I guess 1 second.
I am supposed to shine the Duchessa's shoes. No one is allowed in the palazzo. Is she going to shine her own shoes then? What the Duchessa does or does not do is of no concern to us. What a life this is, let me tell you. I would rather you did not. I will complain to the Duke. As long as you are stuck on that side, no one will hear you. I have had enough. Stay where you are. Let me through! You must wait until the Duchessa allows you to pass.
What in the world?
So just as an example, even like 100 years ago, like at the turn of the century in like 1900, there was so many cool buildings being built, like in Chicago, New York. You look at some construction and architecture from that time period, really cool buildings. Like we're talking classical, historic, giant pillars, things like that. And then you look at construction since like the 1950s, it is the most boring thing in the entire universe. Everyone's just trying to find ways to make it cheap, ways to make it, efficient. We don't want to spend a lot of money on this. But back like 100 years ago, we were willing to hire big name architects to go and design, like if we're going to design an apartment building, it's going to look cool, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. Like we were willing to expand and innovate and things like that. A good example of this, one thing I've been getting into recently is state capitals. Every state capital is different because they're all made in different eras and so on.
And by different architects, right?
By different architects.
Or a lot of them are.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, repeat ones, but the newest state capitals are ones like Florida's. I think Florida might be the newest, or either that or New Mexico. But you look at one of those two states, their state capitol buildings, and like Bismarck, North Dakota, and you compare them to like Wisconsin's state capitol, night and day difference. Mm-hmm. Bismarck's looks like an office building.
Oh.
Florida's is basically like a tower. Like it looks like a skyscraper-y kind of a thing. You look at Wisconsin's, it's like some classical, like you'd find in like England or France. It looks like it was like a Renaissance era building. And it's really just because they were made like 100 years from each other. Actually, I think like 60 or 70 or something like that. And I just think there's a lot of, when people build buildings nowadays, we build them to be as cheap, as boring, as efficient as
uniform too.
Uniform. It's just, let's just build them. We'll get them up. We'll spend as little money as possible on this. There we go. Whereas 100 years ago, we wanted to have something cool and great and grand and beautiful. We took pride in our building.
You're talking about the death of beauty. This is something that architecturalists talk about a lot, which is like,
it's sad.
Everything needs to be uniform.
It is very sad.
And very like simple.
Yes.
I agree.
I think the same goes with art. I mean, you look at art. Even 150 years ago, look at paintings from that era. It's beautiful. It's scenery. It's people. It's things like that. And you look at modern art. Modern art is literally just like a black box with like a red line through it. That's considered modern art. It's boring. It's stupid.
I agree.
It's dumb. Like look at Mona Lisa. Whoa,
that's
right.
art.
That's art.
Beauty.
Come to kill me at last, assassino.
Buongiorno, Lucrezia. Or should I say, Duchessa?
A borrowed title bestowed by my husband. Ill-fitting and barely concealing the truth.
You can keep your life. I am here for the art on your walls.
Redecorating, are we?
I count 5 Leonardo da Vinci paintings you have stolen, and I want them returned.
If only it were that easy. My birthplace, my family have been taken from me. You think Ferrara loves me? I am a stranger, a castaway, an orphan. Your paintings are gone, assassino.
I do not believe you.
Frightening, is it not? To have lost so much? Perhaps we can comfort each other.
Perhaps. Where are the paintings?
Sold to Francesco Colonna. And one to someone who was special to me. Patrizio. He spends his time near Il Vaticano. I kept one for myself.
Give it to me.
Guards! Place Da Vinci's Annunciation in a cart. Leave it outside the walls.
Molto bene. Now, close your eyes.
My husband will soon arrive with his guards, so it is best if you... hurry.
Forgive me, Duchessa.
What for?
No man can heal your pain. You must do so on your own. Say hello to the Duca for me.
Guards! Guards!
I feel bad for her.
I do too.
I mean, I get that this was technically the right thing to do, right? Because he would have been kind of just taking advantage of her.
Yeah.
Like, although she did want to sleep with him, but...
At least until he becomes famous later. Then she's gonna change her opinion.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, anyways, continue.
I kind of feel bad for her, though, because it's like, she's very lonely, and I actually feel like there could have been... Now, I'm not saying that this would have been better, but you know how he ends up marrying... What is Sophia, right? That he ends up marrying in Revelations?
I think so, yeah.
His wife?
Yeah.
I feel like there's several people that you could have written Ezio to be with. You could have very easily done a tragedy with Lucrezia, you know, that could have technically worked. Not the way the story of Brotherhood is now, but if you rewrote it.
Yeah.
Because she was someone who, you know, whose family... Like, Ezio was ruined because he lost his family, whereas she was ruined by her family. I feel like there could have been an interesting dynamic between the two there. I think there could have been an interesting dynamic with the thief girl from 2. I really liked her.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, she was awesome.
I don't remember her name off the top of my head because I've been playing a lot of games recently.
Well, and I just played 2, and I can't even think of what her name was. I feel stupid. I literally just finished 2 like a month ago.
In my head, it's Rosa, but I...
Yeah, isn't it?
Okay.
I think it is Rosa.
So I really liked her. I guess my point is, like, Lucrezia is another one like her that I feel like you could have changed the story and he could have ended up with her and it would have worked.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
But anyway...
well, and I guess for me, I would also kind of go back to the other topic.
Yeah. I wanted to hear more on the death of beauty and why you think, like, you know, why you think every building should look like a phallic object.
Right, exactly. Well, I also think this applies to thought, too. And, you know, there are people out there who are inventors. You know, I think of Elon Musk. I think of... You know, some of these other people like Bill Gates. I mean, Bill Gates has invented a lot in the tech business. Bill Cosby did a lot of inventions. New drinks. Exactly. There are.
Do you not get my joke?
No, I do. That's why I laughed. I chuckle.
Okay, sorry.
I think there's a lot of, you know, people who have invented stuff in the past, you know, 20, 30 years. But most of those have just been all in, like, tech inventions.
Right.
You know, but if you look even like 100, 150 years ago, we're looking at aeronautics inventions, like people developing planes and things, which I guess Elon Musk is kind of technically doing that still. But we're looking at, you know, medicine inventions. We're looking at all kinds of things. And I guess for me, I don't really see a lot of that in today's world. In fact, I see whenever someone does develop those things, I see it just get politicized.
Are you wanting a different outfit for a bit for you, or do you like this one?
Oh, I like this one. We can wear it. I just see, you know, people are so invested in politics nowadays that it's actually infested into every aspect of their life. Like, for example, someone will come up and say, no, I'm not talking about like the COVID vaccine, because I know it's a politicized thing.
Operation Warp Speed!
Right.
You know, that's actually also what I call it when I need to hook up with Lucrezia before her husband
Right, yeah, it's
back.
Operation Warp Speed.
Maybe really quick. It's Operation Warp Speed.
Well, like,
it was no problem for me, by the way, being quick.
Well, like, someone will come up with an invention in medicine, and everyone will just be so quick to be like, well, you're just a liberal, or you're just a Republican, you know what I mean? Like, everyone just gets so politicized with everything that, you know, even Elon Musk's inventions, like, liberals hate Elon Musk. And it's like, well, yeah, but this guy invents a lot of things, and now we've just politicized him because we hate him, because we don't agree with his opinions. You know, same with some of the more liberal inventors. Like, a lot of Republicans just hate him, the person, because they're that person. You know, like Bill Gates and so on.
Mm-hmm. Or like with Elon Musk, how people will say, "Oh, you're Elon Musk."
Yeah, exactly.
Even
so,
if
like,
he invented like the cure for cancer tomorrow, they'd be like, "I'm not taking that."
Exactly. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of politics has infested a lot of aspects of the world that I think, even with thought, like, people don't really want to think of new things anymore, because thinking of new things would be hard, it would be challenging.
It would also be scary.
It would be scary, you know, and I think part of that is because we're so quick to hate people nowadays. We're so quick to, like, dox people. We're so quick to call people names. And I think a lot of people nowadays are they're so indoctrinated in their thing that they don't want to challenge their beliefs at all. Mm-hmm. And that even includes, you know, with other people. Like, it's not that, you know, if someone comes along and says, well, hey, I think this thing, you know, people are so indoctrinated that's like, well, that's not a hardcore Republican belief, or that's not a hardcore liberal belief, I'm not listening. You know, like, that's how people act nowadays.
Right, it didn't come from the right source.
Exactly. So I just think people don't do that type of stuff anymore.
Well, that's the same thing with the media.
Yeah.
You know, like, you see that too. Like, we talked about a story that was from, what was the website? It was the one that's pretty conservative.
QAnon.com.
No.
Oh, sorry.
But it was a pretty conservative website. I don't remember what it was, but they made a really good point. And there were people saying, "Oh, well, look, this is from, you know, this, like, right website."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so what? If, like, CNN put this out and we fact-checked it and their reporting was true and they made a good point, I wouldn't say, "Ew, CNN." I'd just say, "Oh, then that's true."
Yeah.
I would only say it's false if they were lying. It's not just false because they are who they are.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so how are we supposed to develop new ways of thinking, new worldviews, you know, new whatever, if, first of all, our entire world is boring and everyone just wants boring stuff? You know, because boring is cheap, boring's easy, boring doesn't require thought or attention.
You can replicate it and mass produce it.
Exactly.
Which goes in with the cheap thing.
So why would we want to get to new inventions if we don't want to do anything new?
Why don't you shoot them?
You know, so I just think that's my opinion with your question, is I think the world is just so indoctrinated with their thing. They want cheap, they want boring, they want mass production, they want everything, because they don't want to do new things. They want to challenge their beliefs. Mm-hmm. So therefore we don't get new developments in anything.
Do you think this will ever change?
Yeah, I do.
Yes, Patrizio.
History is a pendulum. That was the cutscene. Tail Lucrezia's old flame, Patricio, to find the Leonardo painting she gave him in memory of their love. Do not use the rooftops during the tale. Okay.
Hey, can I tell you something, by the way, that I do want to talk a little bit about the Death of Beauty. My thoughts on it are a little more negative than you. First off, I think people are more stupid, too.
That too, yeah. People are way more stupid nowadays.
As someone who's studied literature and lightly studied history, not nearly as in-depth as you, but you look at the Greeks, they were trying to think.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
yeah, some of them would have, like, you know, like, orgies and stuff, whatever. I mean, like, I'm not saying that they were all, like, the most civilized people of all time. But what I'm trying to say is that, what's the thing? Don't use the rooftops?
Yeah, don't use the rooftops.
What I'm trying to say about this is that I do believe that they at least tried to better their society.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
You had guys like Aristotle and Plato, and they weren't just losers because they were unemployed philosophers. It was important to have thinkers.
Right.
Nowadays, you know what happens? You have a thinker, and they're not like a $90,000 a year earner. They're a loser.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Just ignore them.
Because everyone wants credentials nowadays. Or it'll be like, where's your PhD? It's like, okay, you can develop good thoughts without a PhD.
But even if you have one and you're not the right source, they still get mad at you. Look at Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
He has a PhD.
Right.
But they want to take it away from him.
Right. Because he doesn't follow
what other people say.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says.
Neither do
like,
I.
But, like, the guy has all the credentials, and people still want to take it away because he doesn't follow what their belief system is.
Right.
So it's just, I don't know, how can we develop as a world if that's what we do to everyone?
Also, how can we develop as a world if everyone hates each other?
Exactly.
And everyone is the idea of the other.
Yeah.
You know, you other everyone else, where it's like, they're not me, they're not like me, they're,
Yeah.
this other group. So therefore, they don't deserve to be listened to.
Yeah. Because then the other side just says the same exact thing.
Yep.
So
tit for tat.
everyone just basically circle jerks their own side all day, and the other side is like devil, the devil themselves.
The worst thing ever.
Yeah. It's stupid. Like, how can we have a society when that's how we treat each other?
It's very unfortunate. And I did want to say that in a positive, I do think it's at least... I do think that it's at least good that there are still people who are willing to look into these things, though, and ask questions about it.
I agree.
And it's not like it's gone. Like, for example, I would say that in high school... Not that you had no interest in history or anything, but in high school, I would say that you weren't exactly asking deep questions.
I was kind of a moron in high school, I'm going to be honest with you.
And as you've gotten older, like, these things start, you can have a conversation about this kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I do think that there is hope for people, that people can become a lot smarter and a lot more introspective and able to look around at the world and say, hey, why is this the way it is? Can I change it? What impact can I have? What impact could my kids have?
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of thing we need, is that kind of attitude where I can ask you a question like that and you have an answer.
Right.
Or you can reason out and think of something. And I think that it's too bad, though, that there aren't more people willing to do that, because I actually think it's harmful to society to not ask questions.
Well, yeah, exactly. How can you develop anything? Like, even if they're bad questions, like, you could look at someone can ask a question and it's just completely false
and dumb.
It's dumb, but like, that's part of weeding out the right from the wrong.
Well, you even look at like Reddit. Look at Reddit now. You ask a question that the group think deems as dumb, you're just going to get downvoted into oblivion.
Yeah.
I saw this the other day. I saw a girl posting about her Sims game, and she was just posting something about her Sims game. People were like, "This is stupid. You're an idiot." And she just got mass downvoted for it.
Oh no.
And it's like, this girl didn't post anything wrong.
Right.
Like, she didn't post anything bad here.
She's just talking about her Sims game.
Right. And people got butthurt about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think...
Well, it's just kind of sad.
The same with the censorship stuff of like, you asked a question we don't like, now we're going to shadow ban your account.
Yeah.
This stuff is all pathetic to me.
Well, there's also the problem with, like, doxing, too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this person's a political party I don't agree with. Leak their address.
That woman used false passion to seduce me. The error lies in her Spanish blood. I know it.
Such untruths you so casually utter based on little more than a name. These countries, these groups make such easy targets for the lazy and ignorant.
You should tell her that, the high and mighty Duquesa. Putana! I have changed my mind. That painting does not deserve to belong to anyone.
Take the painting and examine it for clues. Be careful. Human hands aided by a fierce intelligence made that. Treat it with respect. Go.
Guess that guy should have just sold the painting.
I know. So we have to get him now?
Yeah, you have to run after him.
Chase and kill the robed disciple. Well, and I also think it's kind of sad because... right. I think it's kind of sad because... Wait, should I just arrow storm him?
Yeah, why not?
I think it's kind of sad because how many people out there... How many people out there want to go into areas like... I don't know... politics or... you know, science or things like that.
Religious studies.
Like, how many people want to go into these areas, but the fear of threats and, like, getting doxxed pushes them away from it. You know what I mean?
Like, you're saying
like,
the fear of death.
Well, exactly. Like for example, in politics, and I know this is the same for celebrities, like actors and things like that, too, but in politics, especially because everyone's political opinion is on full circle, that's why you're there. There are people out there where it's like, I don't agree with this political opinion, let's leak their address online.
Right.
And then, like, people show up at their door, like, protesting and things like that. And there's so many people out there where it's like, I don't want that.
Yeah, no.
You know, like,
Why would you deal with that?
I have a wife, I have a family, I have kids, I have pets in my house. I don't want random people showing up at my door.
And you know, if the cops show up and some dog barks, they're gonna put that thing down immediately.
Exactly. So, like...
That, by the way, that happens a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Cops have zero problem shooting people's dogs, which is very weird
It's
to
stupid.
me.
Especially, yeah, it's like, so there's so many people out there, like, how many people out there don't want that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, they're just like, well, I'll just go to my 9-to-5 job. Why would I get involved in politics?
Actually, you just brought up something else that I think prevents it. There's no support for philosophers. There's no support for thinkers. There's no support for artists, like, except for things like Patreon, memberships,
right.
you know, Venmo, like, almost begging. You almost have to become a beggar to afford your way of life. Like, even with what we do, like, I mean, this is philosophical talk. Like, I know that we do a lot of, like, joking, too, and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, comedians, philosophers, thinkers, artists, you know, things like that, there's no support for them. Like, you're on your own. You don't get... You don't have dental insurance. You know what I mean?
Well, even like a lot of liberal arts people too.
Yeah.
Like in my field, I'm in the history field. Yeah, good luck being rich at all in my field.
Right. So how many? Well, and this was something I tried to say. Not that there was anyone who could do anything about it, but this is something I kind of asked one of my college professors. Like, how many people do you think don't become teachers because they can't afford it?
Yeah. Right.
You know, because
I think there's a lot.
It is a lot.
Or how many great teachers have existed in the world in general? They're excellent teachers, but they had to leave because they could not afford it.
Or they just never even started.
Yeah, or
they would have been a great teacher.
Exactly. So, I don't know, it's just, there's so many...
We got to get rid of some of our notoriety.
Yeah. There's so many areas to this question that I think it just kind of creates a very sad society, in my opinion.
There's a lot of arenas to this question, too.
Exactly.
I sold them out.
You sold out arenas?
You know what that means?
Yeah, you can suck my woo!
And then that's when DJ Wu Kid jumps in, yo! For like a collab.
So I just think there's so many areas where you look at it and go, you know, of course we don't see, you know, someone like Karl Marx or something like that anymore, because to be honest with you, if Karl Marx existed to this day, he'd probably be like some poor homeless guy, and everyone would just immediately go like, oh, that's just a homeless person.
Yeah.
Whatever. Oh, who cares? Or like, oh, that person voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 election, or that person voted for Joe Biden in the 2020... Who cares? I'm not listening to him.
Yep.
So it's just so stupid. Like, everyone's so superficial. Everyone's so angry. Everyone's so territorial now with everything. It's always an us versus them attitude with everything. It could be the most basic thing ever. Like, I like Assassin's Creed 3, and everyone immediately goes into an us versus them attitude. It's like, what is the point of this?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
how in the world can we grow as a society or grow as anything if we're always angry at each other, if we're always mad, if it's always us versus them, if someone tries to invent something and everyone just laughs at them all the time, if we want all of our buildings and art and everything to just be the most boring, basic thing ever? Like, what is, like, how? How can we grow as a society at all if that's all we want?
And maybe that's why we haven't. I think it's kind of your point.
Exactly.
That's really sad.